Hi guys, so we're off to another exciting adventure in the BMW turned camper van. We're driving up I-70. We're going to get a look at the change of colors of the trees. It's just phenomenal right now in Colorado, just spectacular. I'm on my way to Glenwood Springs in my little BMW camper van. I call it a camper because I sleep in the darn thing, and it's worked out pretty well for me. Anyway, I just love these little adventures. Glenwood Springs has some of the best hot springs in the state of Colorado, and I would venture to say the best hot springs in many, many states. So it's a great place to go and recuperate. Here we are at Penny Hot Springs in Pitkin County, Colorado. The hot springs are located by the river, and a few of them not too far of a hike down the road. They are all not too hard to reach. Some of them are a little challenging. There are a lot of people up here. That's because the access is so easy. When you can just park your car and then hike down to the springs, a lot of people tend to go like this. First of all, let's talk about clothing. These springs are usually clothing optional. It doesn't mean that it's legal necessarily, it just happens. But if you are skinny dipping and some parent brings their child along, and invariably parents seem to want to bring their little children to a place like this, then you should definitely cover up. It's just an etiquette, something that we all do. If you go to the springs and most people are wearing clothes, then probably you're going to offend somebody. People get really flipped out about public nudity. Even though most of us were born without clothes on, people don't see it that way. And so try to be respectful of other people, and if somebody's really having a problem with it, then put something on and wear some clothes. Please pack it in and pack it out. Well, you're going to have to obviously pack it in. They don't have any vending machines here. But when you leave, please take out what you brought in. Your beer bottles, your cigarette butts, your toilet paper, your towels, anything that you might have brought into this place, you should take with you. If it didn't grow here and it wasn't created here, then it doesn't belong here. And the appropriate thing to do is please take your trash out with you. It's the only way that we can keep a place like this open. One of the big complaints the counties have with all of these natural soaking areas is the amount of trash that they have to then go in one day and clean up, and they really have problems. Let's talk about sex. We're adults, presumably, watching this, but this is not an appropriate place for sex, and a lot of people confuse public bathing and nudity with sex. Sorry, they don't necessarily go hand in hand. This is a public place, and displays of sexuality here are never appropriate. So I would suggest that you not partake. Please leave that kind of thing somewhere else. It's just not appropriate here. And that's another reason why these places get shut down, is because somebody's acting out and then someone sees them and everybody gets offended. Please don't wear your suntan lotion into the hot water. What you do when you do that is you put a layer of protection, UV protection, into the water, and the water then doesn't get the appropriate light that it needs to get in order to stay clean. You'll notice that the healthy springs here have a lot of moss on them, and if they have moss, that means that they're very clean. So I have somebody right by my window watching me. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, I'm going to take a break. Appreciated. Try to leave the place the same way that you would have found it if you were the very first person there. Let's talk a little bit about alcohol and drugs. Everybody is free to do what they want to do. In Colorado, it's illegal to become intoxicated and drive. or to use marijuana and drive, assuming that you're intoxicated. And they have their ways of finding out. Obviously, if you do that kind of thing and you get caught, Colorado has some very severe penalties. It's not trust me, not a pleasant process if you get caught doing that. So please be careful about your use of those kinds of substances. But if you're going to come here, realize that people are going to do it.
So what about our natural processes? Everybody has to poop and everybody has to pee. And unfortunately, at Penny Hot Springs, there is just no room. There's a small bank set against a large bank, a large almost mountain that you have to climb down, and there is no privacy. I have seen somebody get out of the spring, turn around, pull it out, and take a whiz right on the bush that was next to the highway. It was really inappropriate. If everybody urinates on the bushes that are right next to the river, which is right next to the hot spring, then that whole area is going to stink like an unclean urinal. I'm sorry to put it this directly, but that's how it is. If you have to urinate, the most common thing to do is get into the hot spring and urinate with your suit on, presumably if you're wearing a suit. Sounds a little gross, but what happens is the water comes in and it cleans out the spring itself, and it's the only way to keep an area clean that gets probably 200,000 visitors a year. So what happens if you have to go number 2? The best thing to do would be to climb up the very steep bank and go in your car and then dispose of the results, the waste, somewhere else appropriately. A lot of people bring 5-gallon buckets and they go in the bucket and then they dispose of it in the trash, just like you do with a diaper. Another alternative would be to find a place somewhere down valley or up valley. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of places, or go back to town and do your business and then come back. There is just no privacy at the spring, and even if there was, there's not enough space for 1,000 people a week or a month or whatever to be having to do that. So please plan your trip carefully when you go to Penny Hot Springs.
Let's talk about dogs. Dogs pee and they poop, and no one likes to walk through that. Please don't bring your dog here. Leave it in the car if you have to. Be sure your windows are down and the animal gets plenty of ventilation, but it's not a good place to bring your dogs. This is a place to come and really enjoy nature. The springs, as I said, are very hot. And later in the year, it gets even hotter. What happens is less river water runs into the spring. The area that you can soak in kind of gets extended because the river has receded, and it gets very, very hot. In the spring, the river is very high and the water is not nearly as hot, and you almost have to search for the hot spring. But it's a phenomenal place to come and rejuvenate. It's free, as I've said. It does get some police activity, but probably not as much as some people want and too much by others. But as long as you follow some simple rules and some common sense, you'll be fine here. It's just a wonderful spot. Colorado is full of wonderful spots. And just like this, there are many hot springs there. There are many millions of acres of public land that you can camp on and live on and really enjoy yourself. There are different people from every perspective. It's very interesting to me to come here and hear people's thinking, because people come from so many different places and so many different life experiences. It's just really refreshing.
I live in my car part-time, and I'm looking for a van to buy so I can live that way full-time. This video is about some of the things that you can do as a van dweller that includes living outside of your van, and that's kind of the whole idea. You live in it, but the whole world is your playground. The whole world is your backyard. We as van dwellers have to keep up our appearances, have to keep up our responsibility and handle these kind of situations appropriately, or they'll go away and we'll have a lot less backyard.
If you like what you're seeing, be sure to subscribe, and then you won't miss any of my future videos. If you have a comment, even if you don't like what you see, I would love to hear from you, and I'll respond to you. Unlike some other people, they don't care to respond. I'll respond. So please leave your comments below, and I want to say thank you very much for watching. My name's Tim Painter, and we'll see you soon.